Starship Lieutenant Nadezhda Denisova was used to the looks her male colleagues would give her. Mostly, they assumed her to be a nurse or an assistant to one of the ranking officers. Confusion would show in their faces when she joined the briefing for the morning sortie, following often by anger when they realized that she was a pilot. It was the same when she entered the hangar of the 4th Fighter Division at the Kiev Air Base. But after the first sortie, when they saw her on the scoreboard with 3 confirmed kills to her name, they began showing respect, and soon they would address her by her call sign, Kerch, after her hometown in liberated Crimea. The Germans were concentrating most of their available air power over Belarus, and soon the 4th would be redeployed north towards the front lines to assist with the planned assault against Brest-Litovsk. They would be heavily outnumbered, and nobody knew how many would return from the skies, but they would fight for the motherland. We have indeed a fair amount of female aces at this point who have made it into the roster, and I'm going to go through the various air wings, and I'll be replacing the somewhat less skilled ace pilots with some of the more skilled ones, like Zidorova here, for example. She's going to take the which one is this? The sixth fighter wing. And for now, we'll move over to Ukraine because Germany has significantly increased the number of aircraft that are currently hitting Belarus. So I will be shooting down some bomber planes over Ukraine, and until the troops are at the front line for the assault against Brest-Litovsk. There has been the question of super heavy battleships. Unfortunately, super heavy battleships are no longer in the actual research tree. They used to be here, the Weltkrieg hull, so you could get these relatively early because they take forever to build. But they are actually now in the naval experimental facility. So I don't actually have one of those, and we don't have any breakthroughs. So I don't even know where that would be. Is it the Dreadnought? Yeah, I think it would be that. It would probably be that. So that would be the project, and that would be the Dreadnought hull. I think that's what counts as probably as the super heavy at this point. But yeah, I don't have the naval breakthrough, we don't have the facility, and we don't have the research. So I think I will unfortunately have to once again disappoint a certain admiral at this point, and instead we'll be dealing with battlecruisers. Because the Germans, actually in terms of navy, they do still have some navy, but it's not an awful lot. Over in Africa, we'll have to secure the territory here, and then the assault divisions can return south. And I'm simply going to leave the additional regular infantry along the lines here, just to make sure that there's no further German breakthroughs north. And then we'll head towards Nairobi, and we'll see if we can, or we will see, was there a supply hub? No, that's where the supply hub was. Okay, so we'll try to take this supply position and then make our way towards Nairobi and see if we can capture that and get all the way to the coast. All right, what else do we have to look at? I think that pretty much covers it. I was thinking of sending troops to Norway. Yeah, that's something I was looking at. So I was thinking of sending these divisions to Norway, and we'll have to ask. Did I ask them about military access? Okay, I've asked already about military access. Yeah, all right. So once that's clarified, then we'll see if we can assist the Norwegians against Sweden a little bit, and then here we'll be preparing the next attack from against Brest-Litovsk. We still have to keep an eye on the northern situation, but I think we are getting to the point that we're reasonably stabilized. Okay, Norwegian Socialist Republic has accepted. So can we now? Yes, we can. So now we can deploy some forces of our own. Now the question is where to. I think there's no. We're still holding. What are we holding? Okay, we're still holding Narvik, and there's no. This is all inaccessible terrain. So that's actually less ideal to try and break through from there. Instead, we could try to deploy to Oslo, or we could try to. We can't even get through here because the Swedes are holding this territory. So potentially, can we? We have no supply here, so we can't easily get towards Trondheim. What's the naval situation in the Norwegian coast? Because no enemy naval presence. So we could redeploy from Murmansk and make our way over towards Trondheim, and then try to reconnect the positions here. Now, it would be ideal to send mountaineers for that. I realize that, but the mountaineers are busy elsewhere. So for now, we've got four infantry divisions here. So let's try to position them here and see if we can get the railways reconnected. They are going to have to take a perilous trip across the sea, but I think that's probably worth it. And is there any further? There are no further supply hubs east from here anyway. So okay, so that line goes away. That there's just Finnmark, but other than that, there's not an awful lot here anyway. I'm not sure if Finland's still at war with Norway actually. They're still. Finland is still fighting on technically the enemy side, although we're not formally allied with the Syndicalists. But if we can reduce Sweden somewhat, that will probably negatively affect German steel imports, for example. All right. Other than that, so while these troops are moving, we are trying to redeploy some divisions over towards Brest-Litovsk. Where is my 14th Army? Okay, 14th Army is trying very hard to make their way across the front lines during consistent attacks here. And obviously the German focus against Belarus is causing additional losses on our side, but we are preparing the air wings, and I think we may actually have enough to train up in a rear airbase. Do we have some fighters? Yes, we have some fighters. So we can. We've even got some I-185s at this point. So we can create a few fighter wings. I don't know why I can't join these, but I'll simply remove that again. So let's get two fighter wings deployed, and we'll start training them up. So we are starting to see the impact of the full 30 factories applied here. And the next factories will go into the heavy tanks. How far are we along with the heavies? Yeah, we're getting there. These two are obviously far behind, but if we can get two heavy tank divisions out, then I think that will be a reasonable start for going on the offensive. We're definitely starting to see a change in initiative. I think the Germans have lost the initiative at this point with all the losses they've taken, and we are back in the offensive business sooner rather than later. The big question is, they're also not getting anywhere here. So the French troops, I think, mostly are deployed in Corsica, and as such are not particularly helpful, because they are holding Marseille. They do have a port, so they could technically make their way onto the front. But I think the biggest problem the French have is that they just don't have enough troops to hold the lines, and I'm not sure if Germany is actually helping there. All right, we have established the Государственный Standard, a set of technical guidelines intended to standardize all aspects of Russian economy. For the military, it ensures that everything from rations to rifles to railroads meets the strict standard needed to survive the rigorous war. Standardization is your friend, because it makes things interchangeable. This gives us research bonus and support equipment production costs minus 5%. That is great. Plus, we get a A new potential advisor. This is for artillery. That would not be bad as well, but I would assume that he is... Is he a theorist? No. Is it in... Or is he an actual... is he a... he's a regular government advisor. Okay. Do we want to change that? Right now we get construction speed, 10% factory output. We've got Sikorsky for aircraft production. And we've got Kartashiov for research. No, I think I'm fine with what we've got. All right, but we can, for now, this has reduced the cost for support equipment, where we actually, okay, I didn't actually realize we had a surplus on support equipment. That means we can probably reduce the factories down to 10. Because 15 is generally a bit much for support equipment, because you're never going to be doing anything. You're never going to be doing anything with upgrading or converting. So we can, and I think we have an artillery stockpile as well. Yes, we are. So this is starting to come together. We've got a bit of old artillery, captured artillery that we can convert, and same for the support equipment, rifles. We've got good stockpiles. So I'm simply going to focus on converting some old rifles as we go. We're also starting to have 30 armored trains now in stockpile. So we can probably convert a few of the older ones too. And we've got a truck stockpile, 4,000. Yeah, that looks good. So we can start converting some of the older trucks as well. That reduces the amount of rubber that we're taking. And we now got 20 factories on the heavy tanks, so we're very slowly we'll eventually get to building the super heavy howitzer at some point, but for now we are busy elsewhere. All right, new focus. What else do we have to take? We could grab 100 political power and to distribute some civic honors, but that is going to make the left annoyed. We've still got the judicial reform, which would give us which would reduce the left-wing anger and would open up the Sorokin reforms. That is more political advisors, which I don't necessarily want to change right now because I'm quite happy with what we have. So not necessarily the most important part. This is, we've done the coalition of idealists, so that's blocked. This would be political power gain reduction, but we get 5% division organization, but 5% extra consumer goods factory. No, not additional military budget, but that's for a year only, which would be production cost reduction. But for tanks, 10%, not bad. So that's something we could do. But I've got I want to see if there is more stuff here that we urgently need. This would be 2 free military factories. Nizhny Novgorod. We've got this is logistics, which we're not using. That would be artillery attack and defense and production cost down as well, which we don't necessarily need. There is something. Okay, we're the super heavy howitzer. We already have that, so we don't necessarily need that. We've got unity of doctrine, which would give us 5% max planning. Okay, and 10% coordination. That's actually pretty good. But I think I said that we were going to throw in the naval, the naval part here. So let's do that, and then we can get. Back to, I'm probably going to keep an eye on, I think the situation is reasonably stable here. Yeah, the German panzers are completely under strength at this point, and their assaults are futile. So now that the front lines have been radically stabilized, the next point is going to be the next attack here. How is that looking supply-wise? I think we're already running into trouble here. Yeah, this supply hub is not going to support that, and this one probably not either. So we still need Still need to prioritize the construction of railways. So let's get the Slonim-Minsk and Pinsk-Cherniw railways upgraded in preparation for the arrival of the 13th, what is it, the 13th Army? 14th Army. And Kaunas is significantly under strain here as well. So that needs to be upgraded as well. Yeah, it's not much that needs to be done, but unfortunately these railway projects are taking a little bit of priority. And just to sort out the, oh my gosh, these are looking bad as well. In part that is due to the damage. So a lot of these are actually down to the bombing damage, which is also why we're looking at Ukraine. But Belarus, okay, they've once again moved most of the air force off Belarus. So we can probably, unfortunately, they can always reinforce Belarus. So for now we are shooting down planes over Ukraine just to wear them down and to allow our fighter production to catch up. How is it looking in Africa? Troops moving into place here slowly against mild German counterattacks. We don't want to get too far out from the Malakal supply hub, but I do need to get the assault troops south. And yeah, they're all on their ways. So we'll be heading into Kenya there soon. Where are my... All right, these troops have set sail, so they're shipping over, which is a bit risky if we have to contend with German submarines or anything like that. But it seems like the Norwegian coast is completely clear in that regard, and there's not an awful lot that they can do. Now, they're still attacking with whatever infantry. They still have some panzer divisions that are capable. But the overall armor, or the lack thereof, gives me a bit of a hint that these divisions are probably not the most well equipped at this point, and they're using older equipment. Now this is like cycle attacks, which means that they're consistently assaulting from multiple directions, and they are getting beaten back, but they keep doing it. We've got another ace. Few take as many risks as the brave pilots of the Russian Air Force. Svetlana Osipova, a skilled pilot known under the call sign Kareta, has distinguished herself in not only returning alive, but piloting her aircraft with immense skill. She was on a mission and was instrumental to the success in the critical encounter. Okay. So her promotion has been highly publicized. Yes, we are getting additional. Okay, we had actually an engagement. Yeah, it's just a submarine. Okay, we're still hunting convoys with absolute impunity in the Atlantic, simply because the German Navy has lost the battle for the North Sea. Germany is probably blockaded to a degree at this point, so I wouldn't be surprised if they would also not have the. Do we know what their yeah, they are not getting. They're not getting rubber, so I'm assuming that the British are basically blockading them at this point because they can't get it over the land, so they have to get it over the sea route. But their main source of rubber is Ceylon. They would have to go through Africa, which they still hold, because they can't go through the Suez. They can't go over the land routes. So they would have to go over Africa. The problem is that they're probably not getting the convoys through. I don't know if they've blocked the sea zones or if the British are just sinking them. But I think Germany has a substantial problem with rubber production, which means that our fighter craft are going to be relatively successful over Belarus for the attack. So we're definitely bringing the fighter along. It also means that we can begin looking into getting ground attack aircraft now a little bit more seriously. How far are we? When's the next one? So we've got this one in. That is ahead of time, but I think since we have the Polikarov research bonus, it would actually make sense to do the research to do the research a bit earlier, and that would allow us to get more modern airframes. But that's still a year out, so we would still be going into the construction of. Let me sort that a little bit better. We want the that line needs to go anyway. I'm just going to delete it because it has no efficiency on it anyway, because it's been without factories. So I will simply delete it. But I think we are getting to the point where we can start throwing some factories behind the more modern airframes. All right, missing, close air support. We're not producing any. I know, because we don't have any factories on it. We'll get to it eventually. Now, where are my troops? Where is the? Okay, they're still moving in, and the biggest problem is likely going to be supply. So we're going to have to keep a. Because the Pinsk supply hub is significantly overloaded at this point, which we are working on with priority, and it's this part of the line here that needs to be. If you're not familiar with how this works, it's the supply from the capital. So it's how supply flows from the capital, which is the problem. And we obviously have a few bottlenecks here, also in the north. I might actually schedule these as well, just to get these fully upgraded, to get a secondary line here to the center of the front lines where most of the supply is needed. And these are the lines that are still problematic. And it needs to be upgraded as much as we can. So let's get everything upgraded to full railways, and make sure that all gets done. Right, that's another ace pilot. Was there anything else? No, that was that. All right, so that obviously means that we want to be supplied for the assault, but we do need to wait for the construction of railways before we can begin. So in the meantime, we're going to continue shooting down aircraft over Ukraine, where their losses. I don't think we're actually fighting the Germans here. No, it's Middle Africa, as well as a few Austrian and Dutch support planes, but not the German Air Force is in force over Belarus. So we'll be challenging them when we get to it. These fighter wings are almost up to strength actually already. So production is definitely kicking in. Mostly because we're not actually taking any losses at this point, so that's beneficial. Have these soldiers arrived? No, not yet. They're making their way towards the front lines, and we will see if we can manage to cut off the Swedish troops, restore railway connections towards Trondheim. Not Trondheim, Narvik. This is Trondheim. Restore the railway connections towards Narvik, and then from there we are going to make, from there we might make further inroads into Sweden. I think these are attacks. Yeah, these are our Indian friends who are launching attacks. And how many more anti-tank divisions? I don't actually think I need that many, but we'll never know how the war goes. So for now, I think it was the 12th, yeah. So for now, these will go into the 12th Army. Can I just auto-assign them? Yes, I can. There we go. So, waiting for the heavy tank divisions to come online, which is going to happen reasonably soon. And we're waiting for the research to complete, 57 days on that. And then we will see. But the recent, these attacks are costly for the enemy. They're losing significant amounts of men and manpower and material. But actually, they're getting through. Okay, that's usually the problem if they can defeat whatever is, if they're cycle attacking, because it means that we can't rotate out. And it doesn't matter how many divisions you have here. If the divisions that are in the field gets defeated, then they'll have to retreat. So this is still dangerous, and we will still have to bring some divisions back over. So I'm going to send some anti-tank divisions over just to make sure that we're holding that position, as well as bring the tanks back for a potential counterattack in case they are actually moving in. Yeah, so you can't leave it completely alone because they are doing enough damage to push the divisions on the front line out. Anyway, we have completed the anti-air upgrade here, which means we are once again, I think, up to date with these. So we could do the PPSH-2, or we could begin the full metal airframe, which is going to still take a year. But well, by then the situation in the air will have been relieved one way or another. Yeah, I'm thinking to actually do the assault rifles, just because that'll have more impact. So the difference would be this is 12 soft attack, this is 10 soft attack. So I think this is before application of the MIO, so that would definitely have a bigger impact. Let's get that underway. We're using the TOS. We can, at some point, begin with, where was it? Somewhere, no, not here. There it is. We can begin with the field testing at some point. And I've also got 60 political power, so I can actually go through the MIOs a little bit. Let me just organize that all. I'll put some policies onto the MIOs, and then we'll get back to things. All right, let's make sure we're actually holding the position here. We have vast numbers of German panzer divisions coming in, and we have one of the anti-tank divisions employed here. So they're trying to bypass the river defense at Memel, which is reasonable, and these actually are reasonably well equipped. And yeah, you can see these are more powerful. They actually have decent armor. So these tank divisions are somewhat more better equipped under Guderian, but Guderian is now fighting without air cover, and Stefan has taken care of the defense. We've got enough divisions here in reserve, actually probably more than we actually need, simply because these divisions aren't going to get into a position where we probably don't need all 6 of them. Only 3 here, are going to get into a position where they will actually be fighting along the lines. So as long as we can deter them, that's all good. All right, troops in here. These troops are going to need their own shortcut. Otherwise, I'll never find them. And we've got a division still. How many do we have here? 4 divisions. So we've got. Where's the 4th? I only see 3. It's 1, 2, 3. Okay, they must be overlapping or something. All right, so the divisions are still moving in. It looks like 2 Swedish divisions here holding the line. I think we can push them out without too much trouble. And that means we can go back to the African theater, where we are now having the Guards infantry coming in. Unfortunately, we are faced with a significant opposition here on the German side. So 5 German infantry divisions, but they don't seem to be having, they're from Middle Africa, so they don't seem to be having heavy firepower. They do have some anti-aircraft guns, but they're lacking artillery. So let's see. We'll do the same. We'll do the same assault like last time. Actually, they need a front line. Not a front line, an order. Let's plan this out properly. So first order is to take Nairobi. So we'll give them some time to get the planning bonus up. And yeah, this is unfortunate because we have no supply here. I do not wish to leave these divisions without supply. But if we abandon the lines, that means we are going to. We're going to get Germans passing in. So maybe we'll do it like this. We'll get them to hold the salient here instead, and we'll hopefully some of the Persian or Indian divisions can hold that up. All right, back to positions here where we are getting significant assaults once more against the dug-in positions here. Why are we having such a low soft attack? It's just generally not that grand. Okay, these anti-tank divisions, granted. And I think the rest is just regular rifles. No, these are actually Guards rifles. I do want to eventually give the Guards rifles additional line artillery. and change this out, change the support artillery out. Actually, no, what I probably want to do, let's have a quick look at what that would look like. I want to get the support anti-air replaced with a probably motorized recon, I would argue. It's better than cavalry recon, I think. This is, I mean, in terms of reconnaissance, that's 2.5. That's 2. We don't have light tanks to do it, so motorized recon. Oh no, actually we have the scout. We have the long range patrol company. That's even more ideal. So we could put these in instead. That would give us 3 recon on these, and then we do need the anti-air. So we put line AA in here. That would make it a 22 combat width, which is a little awkward, but doable. So that would overall reduce the reduce the armor. Interestingly enough, why? Because we've moved AA out into regular. Does this? Oh, that has a detriment on armor. That's why. That's probably not coming in the support company. Okay. So line AA, which gives us, where are we on anti-air? Yeah, air attack significantly higher, obviously, but also soft attack I'm not too happy with. So we could do 2 RT and 1 line A. That would give us a 25 width with some recon. That would currently require 3,000 artillery and 900 AA guns, which we don't quite have yet. But what we can do is we can simply duplicate that and call that the 3rd edition of it. We'll save that, and then we are going to slowly replace the templates whenever we have some things with the more capable guards divisions. That means these assaults here, just to hold off these assaults here a little bit better, simply because could we just take whatever? So it's not ideal to do that while they're in combat, but we could effectively take the 9th Army, the complete 9th Army, and is this all guards divisions? Yes, it is. We could take the 9th Army and get them converted into the 3rd iteration of the guards, but is it still going to ask me, or is it just going to do it? Nah, I'll have to check if we. I don't think we have enough equipment to do that, because that is the bulk of the guards divisions. But we do have to keep a little bit of an eye on the situation here, especially that Panzer division attack here in the north. That looks relatively critical. And if we cannot reinforce in time, we've got the light tanks now thrown in as well. Yeah, they've brought in some fresh Panzer divisions definitely here that we do have to be a little bit careful with. How is the air situation? Okay, we've got air superiority over the Baltics, and we've actually got some support planes operating there. I think the 2 close air support wings, I'm going to bring them north to the Baltics, and we're going to have them operate here. For what it's worth, they are incomplete because we don't actually have much of them. But given that the Germans are focusing their air completely on Belarus at this point, yeah, that's a lot of bombardment over Belarus. How's the Ukraine situation? We're still shooting them down easily, and I think we've got what's our stockpile? Yeah, we do need to leave a few in stockpile actually. But it's good to see a few I-185s now starting to fall out, which means that we're going to have a bit in stockpile for reserves. So we've got 2 more air wings coming up here, 2 more fighter wings training up. We can actually assign some aces. I've put all the female aces who are very qualified into the other wings already, so they can just get regular aces here. And then I will challenge them over Belarus, but I think we can definitely start putting some thought into the close air support. How are we on the heavy tanks? 7 more factories. That should not take that much longer. So just so I don't forget, let's begin queuing up a, well, first that goes out, and then we're going to begin with the improved small airframe and design ourselves a close air support. All right, CAS weapons. I haven't looked at this in a while. Let's see what's changed here. We've got the bomb base that is giving me, I don't care about port strikes or logistics. This is 8 ground attack for minus 15 agility. This would be 8 ground attack for minus 20, so that's worse. And it's heavier. We could get rocket rails, but that's only 4 ground attack, but it's not having the, it doesn't have the agility debuff. So that's actually quite neat. And we've got the bomb locks, which are 6 ground attack at minus 15. So the small bomb bays are still the best. How about the anti-tank cannons? Ooh, that's tempting. So that's basically the same as the anti-tank cannon 1 is the same as the small bomb base, but the anti-tank cannon 2 is pretty good. Could we get a Thunderbird and then we would put some rockets onto it? How would that look? Basically a rocket attack plane. For a single engine 3, and we would have to be on CAS. We can still fit something in. So that would be, so we definitely need, we're definitely going to, what's the range? 780 kilometers. Workable actually, because I'm kind of keen to get the, so that's 4 air defense. The self-sealing fuel tanks are better, but they cost more rubber. Obviously, that's part of the problem. But we're quality over quantity. That would, so if we did that, we'd end up with 70.8 air defense. I want to compare them to the 185s just to see how that looks like. So they'd actually have a reasonable air defense. They have a shorter range. And worse agility from the anti-tank cannons, but that'd be 19 ground attack. What's the? We've still got a bit of thrust weight left, so we could technically also with the traits, obviously. Okay. Oh, with the traits, this actually looks even better. So with that, actually, are we using this, or do we have a? We could use this is an air superiority designer. So we could think of using the, what do we got? Battlefield support plane designer. Because that actually has, that would be actually more beneficial. So we'd be using also Avia. And we still have some thrust left here. So we could, okay, that does cause us that is somewhat detrimental towards the range, however. So we might have to stick the drop tanks in, which is gonna improve our range significantly, but gets us to 22. So I don't think we can stick additional. That's weight 1. No, we could stick more rocket attack rails. These are really good, actually, rocket attack rails. There we go. So that's thrust weight ratio 25 to 23, so that works. Not the greatest agility due to the heavy anti-tank cannons. So these are something like a 30mm cannon on these things. No air attack, but in return, a decent air defense, and they would have 23 ground attack, which is pretty good if we compare that obviously to the somewhat outdated. Now, which one was it? That would have been this one, I think. Yeah, significantly better, I'd say. So that would be the BSH 6, and that is the model that we'd get into production. So let's save that and get a production line scheduled for these. Where are they? There we go. And we'll be using also Avia for that. So yeah, this comes reasonably late, I'd say, but we obviously want probably something like 20 factories on that as well. and I might even schedule that ahead of the, no, we'll do it after. I want some of these super heavy howitzers and want to see them in action. But yeah, that's coming up, and we'll get there eventually. Now, are we holding here? Have we managed to hold it, or are we running into more trouble? The heavily armored tank divisions, okay, these ones are actually not that well armored, but we had some that had like 50 plus armor. They were a bit more difficult to deal with. All right, another, what is this? Ace pilot. Okay, we don't need to look at that. How is the situation in Norway? Okay, we've got the troops organizing themselves, but I think we can potentially almost, we can totally cut off the Swedish divisions in the north here, and the Swedes are very much out of supply. So I think we're reasonably well planned, and we're pretty decently organized. So I think we can begin the. We'll leave one division behind, and then we'll push further along. Let's see how this looks like. Okay. They are obviously very, very undersupplied, these two divisions, but the terrain is not particularly conducive towards this. But I think we can break through them without too much trouble. How's the African situation? We've got the 4 divisions here in place, but they still need to plan that, so that's happening. Let's keep an eye for now on the situation at Memel, where we are still being aggressively pushed back, and we have to be very careful that, because if they manage to deorganize multiple divisions very rapidly before we can get the reinforcements from the reserves in, then that was obviously a significant problem. So right now we've only got the Indians who are holding the lines and the light tanks. The question is, can we bring in the reserves before the enemy divisions can break through? And if we can push them off like that, then obviously that gets better. But they are cycle charging, so immediately they'll get in there again. We have, that's that Dutch submarine that we're looking at, and we're sinking German transports and Dutch transports to great effect in the Atlantic. In Africa, we're getting a few counterattacks here and there, but I do want to get out of the area that has no supply. And we are still planning, which means we can look at Norway, where we have broken through the lines, which means we'll be about to reconnect the Norwegian position. We'll destroy the Swedish division here. And here is where we currently have to focus on, simply because of these excessively heavy attacks around the defensive river line near Memel. What's the fortification? Yeah, that would be why. They'll try to retake Memel very, very aggressively, and that line is going to be difficult to hold. So I am going to schedule the fortifications, but given the constant assaults, I don't think it's actually going to happen. But we would need the fortifications in Memel directly in order to hold that. Now, Brest-Litovsk, what does it look like? We've got 3. Yeah, we've got everything in place, I believe. The 14th Army still needs to plan. Our supply situation is looking not completely terrible. We're working our way through the last supply hub. So this is probably about as good as it gets. And we've got the tank divisions here in place as well, which are, what's the supply status overall? 60%. I'm not happy about that. That is too little for my taste. We'll wait until they're fully planned out, and then we'll begin launching, and we'll be launching the attacks there. But I do have to keep a bit of an eye on the tank situation here, and India has stopped sending material support. We do have to keep a bit of an eye on the tank division here, tank situation here, where they are crushing this. It's a very difficult to defend terrain, and Germany is pushing their full weight now onto this position here. which means that we are getting reinforcements from the 12th Army. We are bringing them in, but the question is always, can we reinforce in time before we're getting pushed back again there? And that obviously causes some losses also on our side, if they manage to eventually break through, that is. All right, these all are, I think these are assaults. Yeah, these are the Indians running assaults, preliminary, let's call it scouting operations. And in Norway, we're still moving. So this is a tricky. Okay, that division's almost there. Yeah, let's say a tricky position to hold against the enemy panzer divisions, really, simply because the regular infantry gets pushed out too easily. But once the anti-tank divisions actually get engaged in the field, then they can do a decent amount of damage. However, the hard attack is just also very low on these. What did the anti-tank divisions look like? They've got 2 line AT and a regular RT. So 106 hard attack is not bad, but yeah, we'll see. I'm almost tempted to remove the line RT here and replace that with anti-tank. That would, because that would balance it a little bit more towards heart attack. Piercing should be enough, 69. Yeah, I think that's enough piercing. But I also don't think I have enough anti-tank guns at this point. Do we have? No, we're still short. So that's still something we're working on. But we've made good progress with support equipment. So I'm going to stockpile a bit more because I'm going to make changes and I'm going to need additional support equipment. But we'll get there. Now I was thinking of changing the 9th Army around. Obviously, while it's in combat, it's not ideal, but that would give a little bit of additional firepower to them. So let me just quickly look into that, what that would look like if I was to change them. All right, we do have the equipment, so I think we're a little short on AA, but I think in general that is probably worth doing. And that needs 300 support equipment. So that's why I need a bit of a stockpile, and that will do that. That is obviously going to weaken them a little bit until the equipment actually arrives. But I think what I'll be doing here now is I'll pull the light tank divisions. What is the piercing? Yeah, 26 is not enough. They don't have enough piercing anyway to get through the armor of the German panzers. So they're actually not that useful here. I'm going to pull them back for potential counter attack missions here. So instead, I'm going to bring them into the rear a little in case we need to enact counter attacks. We'll see if we can hold the lines here against this absolutely concentrated. That is massive. That's a massive German assault. Do we have the aircraft now? Yes, we've got 2 close air support wings, and I actually have 2 aces that I can employ here as well. We'll do what we can. They do have the range to the front lines, so the Germans should be taking some losses from the air. It's not much because we don't have an awful lot yet. But at least we have aerial superiority. We've got the railway guns in place, and we are doing our best to hold these lines, to be honest. But it's and can you please return to the front lines where you're coming from instead of moving to where you're not being shot at? I do understand the sentiment, but it is not conducive to our operations currently. So this is still a critical battle, and the Germans are throwing everything they can in here now. Spain has been retreating to Palma, and the French appear to be starting to close the gap here once more. They've retaken Marseille and expanded from there. Italy still holds at Florence, so they haven't even pushed into the Rome-Ancona line where we had the heavy fights before that. And in Africa, do we have planning? We have a decent amount of planning at this point. We are running a little low on supply now. So 7 divisions down here. that is, I mean, we could try to bypass them. So I was hoping that we could take the supply hub at Kampala, and then make our way towards Nairobi. But they are putting a fair amount of firepower here now. So okay, we'll wait until it's fully planned. We're at max supply at this stage anyway, and then we'll see what we can get done. How's the? All right, we have managed to cut off the Swedish troops in the north here, so we can now begin the destruction of these troops. And we have somewhat secured the railway line, which now means that we have supply over in Narvik, which doesn't particularly help us. I mean, we would have supply before, but at least it's good to have the supply lines retaken. Now, the next question is, where do we go from here? We could try to break out from Trondheim, but there's an awful lot of no supply until we make our way across the central areas here. Instead, do we have opportunity? Instead, we could look at opportunities to potentially push the Swedish troops off the lines here. We don't have much insight into where the Norwegians are fighting at all. So yeah, I think we'll change the front line somewhat, and we will concentrate on a breakout from Trondheim. That will be our objective, and maybe we can we can push through and take the supply lines off the enemy, and let's see what we can get done there. Now here, obviously, we have. Oh, they have. There's some veteran troops here. That is actually going to be. Oh, and we are. Are we attacking across rivers? No, that's not us. Not sure if that's a river position. So let's actually make sure that we're going north here. All right. Okay. Now we have joined. Yeah, that is actually across the river, so that's less than ideal. But we'll get some reinforcements in the north, and then we'll deal with that. This remains critical, and I will get reinforcements in as much as I can. But we have finished the evaluation of the VMFR. While previously seen as a potential rival to other European navies, the Wojenno-Morskoy Flot Rossi, the military maritime fleet of Russia, has had a hard time shaking off the reputation it gained during the 1904 Russo-Japanese War that they lost, culminating in the disastrous voyage of the Russian Baltic Fleet to the Pacific. Yeah, they got humiliated by the Japanese, which nobody expected back then, because nobody thought that people who weren't Caucasians could actually have an empire and a functioning military. Where was I? Though it saw relatively successful campaigns in both the Baltic and Black Sea during the Great War, the resulting Russian Civil War has left the fleet ultimately playing catch-up with its adversaries. Yeah. Headed by Supreme Admiral of the Fleet, Alexander Vasilyevich Kolchak, the VMFR saw its first rearmament program of retrofitting and modification to modern standards in 1923. Although not to the Great Admiral's expectations, as economic woes during the mid-20s forced many old and unfinished vessels to be scrapped to adjust to the new military budget. Although attempts to reignite naval spending during the Manchurian conflict were short-lived, the conflict led to the long-awaited Ismail-class battleship finally departing dry dock in 1930, followed by a second rearmament program in 1932 with the Gnev-class destroyers and controversial Nakimovets-class submarines. By Kolchak's efforts have yielded a combat-ready and nationally respected naval force. While combat-ready is debatable, the inevitable clash with the German bloc draws. Well, it has already happened. Yeah, you're not expected to do that this late. I assume. I realize that, but that obviously is now opening up a few things. So we could. This would add mines, which I don't necessarily need at this point. This would be giving us a few naval commanders, or the Naval Guard's infantry, or the 3rd Naval Armament Program. That would be production cost, refitting speed. Yep, I think that's what we'll do next. It gives it for 2 years. So all in all, this is probably suitable. How long are our current refits going? Yeah, these will probably not go through. We might abort the refits at some point if of the really old ships, if we need additional dockyards for production. So we'll go on with it for now because we don't know yet what it looks like. But we'll get the improved heavy hull in 40 days, and then we'll look at a design potentially. All right, this is still critical, this position, due to the extremely heavy assaults by Guderian's panzer divisions. So that remains a problematic corner. But how are we looking at Brest-Litovsk? We're not yet fully planned, unfortunately. I could do we've got some Indian tanks here as well now. These are, nope, we're not yet fully planned. How much command power do we have? Okay, we could do a staff office plan, which is going to, which would be 7 command power. It's not worth it. It's not going to be. Oh well, yeah. No, let's get it done. We'll do the staff office plan. We have the command power. There's no need to be, and it's relatively small units. So we get the infantry up to speed relatively quickly. And that means that our valued air wings are going to begin deploying north. How's it looking here? We have shot down about 300 enemy, about 350 enemy aircrafts for 3 losses on our side. So let's get our new pilots north and see if we have to split these up a little bit, because I think we might not have enough airport capacity even. So we're going to need 4 air wings that actually make that 6 air wings. So it's at 6 air wings. No, we have to include, obviously. Where is she? Where is my pilot? There she is. Okay, so she's there. Yeah, she has to go to Pinsk because I said she would. The other 3 air wings, we'll bring them to Novgorod, and then we'll bring another 6 air wings. We can bring them over here, and the 2 new air wings are going to launch from Minsk, and then all air wings are going to concentrate on air superiority over Belarus. And while we are planning the assault, we will begin forward aerial operations. We have to build up our mission efficiency still. It is snowing, which makes launching a little difficult, and we are fighting against potentially about a 1 to 2, roughly 1 to 2 aerial superiority. But I think once we have begun building up our mission efficiency, let's see how far we can get that up before it stabilizes. We are having we're at 90% roughly, yeah. We are beginning launching the first missions. We're definitely beginning to shoot down. My gosh, they've reinforced again. Beginning to shoot down additional aircraft. So let's get 20 command power. I have that for an additional 10 mission efficiency. So that gets us to 98%. So we are operating at peak efficiency. The air battle of Belarus has begun. Germany is throwing an incredible amount of aircraft at this sector, and that means we are going to, and we're going to launch the attack on Brest-Litovsk once the planning has been finished. We still have to make sure that we are actually defending ourselves successfully in near Memel, that we hold the line here against this concentrated German counterattack. I do have to give it to the AI. They do significantly improved counterattacks, honestly, or just more concentrated attacks. That makes them significantly more dangerous. And we can about launch the. Okay, we're trying to. Let's assist them. We've got more troops here that can assist against the Middle Africa divisions here. We're almost done with the planning here, so we can launch these as well. But yeah, all in all, still critical at Memel. Memel is becoming the absolute flush point here. I would love to break through, take Königsberg and cut them off, but across a river against these numbers, that I need I'm actually going to need specialized tanks. So the main offensive is probably going to be launched against Bialystok, and we will see if we can break through here once we actually have heavy tanks and we can concentrate our assault troops, including the light tanks and everything else. We can, if we take Brest-Litovsk and push them back here towards the river line, that would also improve the situation somewhat. But yeah, taking Brest-Litovsk is going to cost them a major airbase. It's not that many planes, but most of them, I don't actually know from where they operate. Königsberg is where they're operating from. Okay, so the majority of them has to fly over from Königsberg, because Brest-Litovsk is not having that. There's a single Cuban airplane. Brest-Litovsk doesn't have that many aircraft actually, so they're all coming out from Königsberg. Interestingly enough, against the Belarus bombing campaign that the Russian Air Force is now launching into. And we actually have aircraft in Norway operating as well, but we cannot divert anything for now. Last thing we look is what's the situation around the world. We've got, what are we thinking here? Various convoys. They're definitely successful. They might have tried to do something in the Mediterranean. So the Syndicalist incursion is still active, and the French still have not contained that. The Japanese haven't gotten anywhere, have they? Have they landed in Shanghai? Is that who's current? Or is this some form of civil war? Who's the current controller? So that's Shanghai, and that's Shanghai as well. Okay, I don't know why that looks like that. So that's controlled by. Are they in some form of? So this is part of the. No, this is Fengtian. That's what I thought. Yeah. So it looks like the Japanese have landed in Shanghai. Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, Japanese have landed in landing in Shanghai. They don't seem to have taken the port yet, but I think the first major naval landing of the war since we've been fighting here is actually happening, and that might, if that becomes successful, might put a bit of a dampener on the Chinese ambitions there. The Americans, Japan has also been taking off island positions here. So they have taken a few. They've taken Guam, and they have taken a few island positions of the Reichspakt. And meanwhile, German East Asia has invaded the Philippines, but doesn't seem to be making its way out towards Davao. And the German East Asia is also not making any progress from Rangoon, so that war is pretty much a stalemate. In South America, Brazil still fights. I'm sorely tempted to get involved there, but honestly, we can't even spare any troops right now. So we'll fight in Africa, and we'll fight in Europe. But the war continues. The heavy tank divisions are very close to becoming available, and once that's the case, I'll deploy them there. Somebody said, would it make sense to try and get the oil fields? They should be somewhere around here. Yeah, try to push here into the oil fields. Not entirely certain. I mean, depriving Germany of oil is important, but I don't know how much they can trade, honestly, if they can actually manage to trade oil. Do we know what their current they've got 12 oil coming in, so most of them goes to Austria anyway. So they seem to be doing all right in terms of fuel. So this would just deprive Austria, not Germany, and Germany is the one with the panzer divisions at Königsberg that we're fighting. But so getting across the river here against these kind of defenses again is relatively tricky without specialized troops. So either we're trying to make a breakout towards Bialystok, or we will begin we'll move towards Königsberg. So that's the other option, that we actually go on the offensive here with the tank divisions. And I think if the German panzer armies are here, then this might actually be a potential, this might be a potential task for the new heavy tank divisions. We'll get to that hopefully in the next episode.